irrespective of gender, you will not become successful unless you're born with a silver spoon, unless you are tenacious, resilient, have a thick skin, work harder than everybody else. You're not going to become successful doing a 9 to 5. That's not a thing.
All right, everybody, welcome to another episode of Mislabeled. We're probably at about 40-something at this point, but as always, losing track because we're churning them out. Thank God we have a very, very special guest with us today. However, before we get to our guest, I want to give a big shout out and thank you to our sponsor, A&E Tax Advisors. A&E Tax Advisors is a tax advisory firm that helps you limit your tax liability by using various different financial instruments to set up your finances in a specific way to help you avoid lots and lots of taxes, like a good Jewish businessman and businesswoman. And I have used them myself and done very, very well with them. Really fantastic people. You can reach out to Eli at taxadvisors.com. That's ELI at taxadvisors.com. Spelled exactly in the description. You can find it there. Again, that's Eli at taxadvisors.com. With that being said, let's get rolling. Zach, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good.
Okay.
Pretty good.
I'm happy to hear that. You normally have some quip. Nothing today?
No, we're still loading today.
We're still loading. I hear that.
Yeah.
Okay. Now to our guest, who I've been running after for 2 months now or something? I've been bothering you?
Not bothering. I was happy to join the podcast, honestly. And I would not take his ad too lightly, by the way. Like, it sounds like an ad, but if you have a business, a good tax advisor is everything. It could be almost double your money.
Oh, 100%. By the way, I'm not kidding when I say this. This person saved me $250,000 this past year. I'm not exaggerating when I say that. And not just that. By the way, this is applicable for people on 1099 and self-employed.
Okay.
So that's who this is for. If you're on, that's really who this is for. Otherwise, you probably are wasting your time. But
that's how you should lead the ad, by the way. This guy at least saved me $250,000.
Yeah. Listen, I'm not here to advertise. The conversation came up. I'm not here to advertise exactly how much money he saved me. That's not the point. Yeah. But anyways, we have with us Elizabeth Sutton. Elizabeth, how are you?
I am good. I love the energy happening right now.
Yeah, we come in firing. First of all, am I calling you Elizabeth, Liz? What is it?
Doesn't matter. All good either.
So we're going to call you Liz. If you don't mind, I say this at least once every podcast. You could do whatever you want with the mic, but most important that it's like somewhere in this vicinity over here. Okay, great. So a lot of people know who you are, but we have a very wide audience. We have Zach and myself who have very diverse views. We're very close, but we have different views and we attract very different sides of the spectrum, which is one of the cool things about our podcast, I think. And a lot of people may not know who you are on both sides of the spectrum, really. So can you just, in your own words, tell us what you're known for? And yeah, let's just go with what you're known for to start.
So I'd say most people still don't know who I am, and that is something that I'm working on changing because I would like to be a cross between the next Ralph Lauren, Andy Warhol, and Martha Stewart, I'd say, is Elizabeth Sutton. I am an artist, designer, entrepreneur, single mother of 2 amazing children. I am completely self-taught. My business is currently comprised of fine art, which is the uber luxury market. Think like $10,000 to $35,000 paintings. But then I also design fashion accessories, also luxury market. I have a number of licensing deals. I have 5 tile collections. They are magnificent. They're in hotels and restaurants around the world. I design puzzles, luxury girls accessories, backpacks, rugs, all sorts of things. And I am currently working on a huge collection of home decor that I think is hopefully going to change my life. I have 2 children who are the loves of my life and basically the inspiration behind everything I do. I have an amazing boyfriend now, thank God, which is forcing me to balance a little. I am from Brooklyn, New York, Jewish community, 6th generation New Yorker. Lived my life a little bit backwards, the Jewish style, got married young, had kids, was a housewife, decided that life wasn't for me, #mislabeled, got a divorce, lost a lot of shit. Can I curse on this?
You can
Absolutely.
say whatever the fuck
lost
you want.
a lot of shit. Reassessed my life, realized that the values that existed didn't align with what I wanted for my life, went through a lot of trauma, and I started a career.
You are the absolute perfect person for us to interview and to have on this podcast.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like you're like a struggling artist, and like you're just really
I'd say like a non-struggling and healed artist, right? I think a lot of people go into the creative spheres, whether it's music, whether it's art, to heal things from their life, to express things that happen in their life. It's actually a very healthy coping mechanism. They use it in therapies all the time, creative therapy. And I had a lot of trauma in my life, a lot. This pretty face and this pretty house and pretty clothing don't show anything about my life. And my art saved my life.
That's amazing.
Okay, we will get to the trauma, and I do have obviously a lot of questions on that, but I want to first focus on the art. I think that it's, first of all, for everyone, no one's here obviously, but I walked into this house. It is crazy. Let's just start with that. There's probably about 15 people working here. Every room has a different design. We tried setting up the cameras in ways that could catch things, but you say you're self-taught, which to me, looking at this house is really crazy. Were you doing this as a kid?
No, I started painting about 7 years ago when my son was born. I was a Upper East Side Jewish princess housewife. I never took art when I was a kid. The only artistic thing I did was scrapbooking. We had lost all our money. I was in the middle of a fancy renovation on my son's nursery. Couldn't afford the art I wanted. Picked up a paintbrush. I'd done like arts and crafts before when I was married because I was so bored. But completely self-taught, from both technically speaking with art, mixing color, painting, sketching, everything. And also design. So I do a ton of product design, and I'm completely self-taught in all those
In
programs.
7 years.
Yes.
And that's what I'm trying to figure out. How can
Crazy.
someone clearly so freaking talented, and I'm not just saying that obviously to flatter you. I mean, there's not one person who could possibly walk in here and think this is not utterly insane talent. How could someone who's so talented only figure out this talent 7 years ago and get so good in 7 years? What is that?
First of all, I had a lot of motivators in my life to force me to expedite the process of achievement, mostly financial pressures. When I left my marriage, I left with nothing, and I had to provide for 2 children and myself. I also experienced a lot of hardship. We'll get to it maybe later in this interview, that pushed me to achieve. But I did definitely express myself creatively prior. In my past life, when I was a housewife, I would have 16 people over for dinner on a Tuesday night, cook a magnificent, delicious dinner. So cooking was my first creative outlet, and set the most gorgeous table you could ever imagine, make my own florals. That was my creative outlet. But I don't know. I never realized I really had a talent. It's from God. I think this podcast has something to do with like God faith, but still being okay being outside the box. So I think I fit in perfectly.
I already said that. You mentioned that you got just a few things. I want to, obviously, just have a lot going through my mind right now, so I'm just trying to figure out which point to pick on. You were how old when you got married?
I was 21 when I got married. I was in college.
And you were divorced at what age?
27 with 2 kids. I left when my daughter was 3 weeks old.
Wow.
How did you, first of all, am I allowed to ask what happened that made you abruptly leave after your daughter's 3 weeks old?
I learned a lot about myself. I realized that there were a lot of hypocrisies in the community and the way I was raised and what I was taught. I got married for love. From the outside, people would think I had a princess life. I went through a series of very severe losses in a 2-year span. Like a lot of deaths, like real proper loss, things that teach you the lessons you need to learn. So October 14th, 2014, I was 6 months pregnant. One of my best friends, was hit by a bus the day after sitting on my couch. Shortly thereafter, my ex sat me on a couch after, like, I was about to have my son, told me we lost all our money. That's like the pretty ribbon on it, but like it was very much more complex than that. That made my father-in-law sick, heart attack, cancer. I started working. That's when I started working, when we lost all our money. I realized that the life I had was not what I wanted. I saw a lot of hypocrisies within the community that really shattered my innocence that I was raised with, from unhappiness to cheating to corruption, stealing.
To be clear, when you talk about which community you're talking about specifically?
The Jewish community,
the
the
Orthodox,
modern Orthodox Jewish community, whether it's Ashkenaz, Sephardic, honestly,
So I wanted
really
to ask
does not
that.
matter.
First of all, you grew up, your last name sounds Syrian, accurate?
I'm 100% Ashkenaz.
Okay.
I went to Yeshiva Flatbush, as did both my parents. I'm a 6th generation New Yorker. My great-grandfather is one of the founding rabbis of the modern Orthodox community in New York. His name was Rabbi Emanuel Rachman. He was the Chancellor Emeritus, one of the highest positions at Yeshiva University.
Sure.
He was the president of the Rabbinical Council of America. He started the Jewish Week. He was the rabbi of the Fifth Avenue Synagogue. He was the president of Bar Ilan University for 10 years. And he was actually, they were considering him for the first presidency of Israel. So I come from a modern Orthodox background, as you can imagine.
One could say modern Orthodox royalty.
Royalty, correct. Rabbi Rachman. You should
Was he
Google
at
him.
YU during the Rav?
You should
Rav
Google
Soloveitchik?
him.
I
He
will.
studied, correct. His shiur was Rav Soloveitchik.
Incredible.
Okay, correct. They were
Yeah.
peers. My great-grandfather was actually one of the most progressive, while still being a very pious man, because he was very religious, but he was very progressive. He was the most progressive rabbi at the time. Now it's trendy for agunot, et cetera, et cetera. But he was the most progressive rabbi at the time to stand up for women's rights within Judaism. He founded Aguna Inc. He started his own Beit Din, and he actually created the Rachman prenup that most modern Orthodox people sign now when they're getting married to make the issue of the get a legal American issue.
Wow.
Wow, that is some. I mean, this guy sounds like an unbelievable. I mean, what he accomplished. Period. It sounds unbelievable.
You got yichus. You got
Yeah,
yichus.
Yes,
really
yes,
yichus.
correct.
Cool. I also have yichus. They said people tell me, but whatever. That's a
I don't know. Your grandfather didn't start a get. I'm
He's
saying.
not as cool as your great grandfather. That's for sure.
Well, that's a lot of pressure. That's the thing. It's a lot of pressure. I'm outside the box. I'm a rebel with a cause. So.
Are you also outside the box?
What do you think?
I don't know the detail. When you grow up modern Orthodox, I don't have. I'll be honest. I don't know that world, so I don't understand. I'm not.
How did you grow up?
The fact that you're dressed like you, so not in a bad way. The fact that you're like, if you came from my house, it would be obvious to me that you're outside the box. But since
But I
you
grew up
modern
this
Orthodox,
way even.
Right.
How'd you grow up?
my point. I wouldn't even.
Well,
know.
tell her who your
Yeah.
great grandfather.
No,
She
but
wouldn't
how'd you
even
grow
know
up?
who he
Like
is. I grew up
5
far
children?
right wing, like very intense litfish.
Like black hat?
Yes, for
Okay.
sure.
He's great. It's your great grandfather or your great uncle?
It's my great grandfather. He's like a big Gadol.
Scheinberg.
Rav Scheinberg was a big Gadol Adar
In the Haredi world.
in the Haredi world.
Yeah.
And, like he had 100,000 people at his Levaya type.
A lot of pressure.
Like yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
My dad,
Religious pressure.
yeah, my dad is like the principal of a big school in Brooklyn. Like yeah, no, I'm
Which
familiar.
school?
Chavetz Chaim, Brooklyn.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. We try to keep that under wraps. 'Cause I'm not sure how he's holding up through all this. But bravo to him.
Heart
for-
attacks. Don't worry. My family also. They had a hard time adjusting.
Yeah, bravo to you. So again, so you leave. How did you make this transition? You leave.
So I went through a series of losses. So we lost our money. I reassessed my life, realized I wasn't happy. I had gotten pregnant again. While this was all going down, it was very public in the community. I had a miscarriage. DNC forced me to reassess my life. I had just started my career.
You had a miscarriage post your child being born? The 3-week-old?
No. So
first
after
child.
my son, I started my career. We just lost all our money. It made my father-in-law sick, heart attack, cancer, stress on our marriage, obviously. But I was trying to be a good Jewish wife. I was never getting divorced. I have trauma from my parents' divorce. And I was just doing what I was supposed to be doing. But at this point, I started working because we needed money. And I was the only one taking care of my family, to be honest, like my son, etc. But I got pregnant again, doing what I was supposed to be doing. Didn't have the courage to get divorced. Was very scared. And I lost that baby, 12 weeks. When you have loss like that, it makes you reassess your life. I realized I was really unhappy. And if I stayed in this marriage, I was not going to be proud of who I was, right? Like, it had nothing to do with my ex. For as long as I was staying in that marriage, I wasn't going to be proud of the person I was. And I asked my ex for a divorce about 5 weeks later. And that night I found that I was pregnant. So that was very stressful.
Wow. And you left when?
So I wasn't even sure I was going to keep my baby. Wow. I was really in a bad place. Thank God to a lot of therapy and an amazing therapist who got me down the right path, because that's my daughter and I don't know what I'd do without my daughter. But as you can imagine, it's very stressful to be pregnant knowing you're getting divorced. My ex thought it was a sign from God that we were meant to work on our marriage, stay married. Mm-hmm. I knew we were getting divorced. 10 weeks in, and we had no money at the time, so we were in our worst financial position. 10 weeks in, my father-in-law died. I bled out everywhere the day of the funeral, like a freaking joke. Told my friend, don't even tell my ex, don't even tell my husband, don't tell my family. They can't we just buried my father-in-law today. Like, this is a joke. I had a very complex pregnancy, hospitalized 5 times. Anyway, I left when I had a 3-week-old daughter. No money. I said, I'm done. He didn't get it. I didn't stop working from the day I had my baby. 3 weeks in, I had my first gallery opening at a restaurant called Boutique. Kendall Jenner and Haley Baldwin show up that night. I end up getting invited to leave with their friends. I end up in a recording studio in Soho with Kendall Jenner and 9 rappers, none of whom I know who they were. One of whom was A$AP Rocky, who put on my engagement ring that night. Anyway, my ex was like, he was in Avel at the time, so he didn't come to the opening. I had a curfew. He was calling me. I said, I'm safe. Don't worry. I'm just in a recording studio with Kendall Jenner and A$AP. I didn't say A$AP Rocky. I didn't know who he was, to be honest. I had no clue. And he got very mad at me the next morning. He was like, that was inappropriate. Blah, blah. I don't get that, blah, blah. I said, if you don't see how this can help my career, we're not on the same page. I'm out.
Got it.
I have
one question.
Go
here.
for it.
You leave after 3 weeks, no money, 2 children. How do you make that transition with no money, and how do you make ends meet? And I ask that specifically because there's a lot of entrepreneurs out there that the first thing they're scared of is how are they going to get off the ground? They don't have the dollars.
I'll tell you, I'm not going to pretend that I had nothing. So at the time we had nothing. We were in the middle of a majority buyout with Comcast Ventures. We had started an app called Priv. We were the seed investors. So the second that deal closed, when I left him in February, we had no money. We were in due diligence on that deal. That deal closed in May, which gave us a little bit of liquidity because we had no cash flow.
Got it.
Okay. And it gave us liquidity, and I negotiated a divorce settlement in 6 weeks. No lawyers, no discovery. My aunt helped me, made me sign documents saying that she didn't agree to what I was doing. She's not liable. I told myself I'd rather focus. So I took a deal that allowed me to live for 2 years without having to make money. And then I was going to need to make a shit ton of money after that.
Right, because you have 2 kids.
2 kids. I basically put a pressure on me to produce $500,000 a year, pre-tax dollars, in 2 years. And which is kind of crazy, but I was so miserable at the time. I said I'd rather focus positive energy, making money, than negative energy, trying to fight over money that I might never get, don't know if it exists, blah, blah. And I know I work well under pressure my whole life. And so I created a pressure cooker, and it's what I did.
I'm noticing 2 things immediately. One is definitely that you work well under pressure, but also it seems like you have a little bit of maverick energy and that you like to do things yourself. Like, first of all, the self-taught with the art, but then also you're saying like you organize your own divorce settlement, like you didn't even use a lawyer. Like that's some maverick, that's some like individualistic energy right there.
Also, but I was thinking that it also takes 2 to tango. How did your ex not fight you on any of that if he so much didn't want you to leave?
I think my ex knew that I was done. Okay, like he knew I was done. He wasn't going to fight me. I was giving him the best settlement possible. Like there were certain stipulations that he demanded that I acquiesced to, that I sold my soul to. I'm not calling him the devil, but he's not the devil. But I sold my soul to the devil, and I was just like, F this, I'm out. I need to get out. Think about it. I had so many people, so much loss in such a short period of time. Like I was done. You talking about energy, right? Like I was like, I need better energy in my life. Like this is making me miserable.
Fresh start, it sounds like. Just a total blank slate. Like just cut it out by the root, right? That's what it sounds like.
Correct. Cut out
whatever it takes.
toxicity.
Wow.
Yeah.
I totally get that. People think I'm crazy, but I'm similar in that way. I think a lot of times when you grow up with a lot of trauma, like you know what trauma is and what's unhealthy. And I have a thing where I will cut things out by the root, and people are like, why are you cutting that out so quickly? And I'm literally like, because I know what this is, and this is damaging, and I don't deal with this anymore. I don't deal with that behavior anymore. If I see it, it might not be, people don't understand the reaction, but I know what it is because I've experienced it. So
it's funny. I had a lot of trauma from my childhood, from my parents' divorce, and my father, one day my father just got remarried while my parents were still technically married, started a new life, became Lubavitch overnight from modern Orthodoxy. It was bad. And I actually let a toxic relationship with my father dominate my life for 15 years. And then I actually was only able to cut. That was the beginning. My divorce was the beginning of me cutting out toxicity, but I still had a lot of baggage and trauma from my past that I definitely had not addressed. Definitely not. I was like very tough on the outside, but I had problems and I didn't even realize. And then 6 months after my divorce, so I moved out in July. In December. I had a plan in my head. I had a vision. I was going to start a whole home accessories line. That was like my dream because I loved playing Susie Housewife. I loved hosting 16 people for dinner on a Tuesday night and setting the most beautiful table you ever saw that came from my childhood from my grandma, Honey Rackman, who, if anyone knows her, she was a saint on this planet, and a lot of people know her. But I had a vision. I was going to start that. I was working on it. And then 6 months later, my best friend / art assistant was killed in my car leaving my birthday party. It was my first Art Basel. It was a big celebration. So that was like the cherry on top to a series of trauma over a course of about 2.5 years. And that experience forced me into like severe grief counseling. And it actually forced me to heal a lot of my past, a lot of my traumas from my childhood. My father, I finally cut him out. I finally had the balls to say, I'm done. Anything toxic in my life, I'm done. The whole community was talking about it. It happened basically live on camera, more or less, to a degree.
That's so terrible to be going through all this, and then it's also like the talk of the town is it's so invasive.
It was the talk of the town also because I was public. Everything in our community, when it's trauma like that, becomes the talk of the town. But I was
Jews
already
like
public.
to talk about other Jews.
But I was already public. So it was already like literally, I had just gone on my Instagram saying I'm about to light up my stories from the party. I had the best night ever to going on my stories saying my team was just in a serious car accident, and out of respect, like until further notice, I'm going offline. It was my birthday, so people are wishing me happy birthday. It was Hanukkah. I had to fly back to my kids, pretend I'm like a normal mom, and go to Hanukkah celebrations while crying on the floor of like the Fifth Avenue Synagogue, literally in the floor of the vestibule, crying on the floor.
A couple of quick things. Number one, there's a lot of people that when serious trauma or things happen to them and they think it's the end of their life, that life is over, and they somehow move forward and they check into therapy just like you did, and they realize that, there's a silver lining there that they realize that they can become. I know many people like this. It's happened to me. It's happened to multiple friends that I know, of where that becomes the silver lining of their life, where they get a chance to work on so many things and become so much more healthy people and heal themselves from so many things they never would have otherwise looked into unless that trauma happened. Now, that's not to say that we should all want serious trauma to happen to us, but to anyone that is going through something, maybe that could be a message that what's happening to you right now is Gam Zulatova, so to speak. It's for the best.
So I have a painting downstairs that says Blessing in Disguise. This painting over here, this was originally a painting inspired by the car accident. Life is precious, appreciate every moment. I actually am very grateful for my traumas because they're specifically the reasons I have such big dreams. They're specifically the reasons that I actually think I appreciate life more than most people do. I think that a lot of people spend time worrying about silly things, what bag they're carrying, what car they're driving, talking about other people, gossiping. I don't spend any time doing that, really. And I know that a Chanel bag on your arm means absolutely nothing. Ironically, I design bags, but I really say I sell inspiration. I sell a vibe. I sell an energy. I think that I actually get so much more out of life. I appreciate life so much more. I don't take it for granted. And I chase faster than 99.8% of people who are like, I'll do it tomorrow, because I know, one, you can die in 2 minutes from now. If you never know. It's all in God's control. But I actually think I have a much fuller and more meaningful life, like filled with real values, like substance, because of my traumas, and specifically that car accident. That car accident was so traumatic, visually, mentally, emotionally, financially, on so many levels that the world will never know. So many intricacies that happened that I really think that's what's going to catapult me to where I want to be.
Wow.
Can you give, this is like you've experienced real loss and grief. It's clear, right? Could you give some tips, some understanding to people about how you got through that? Like, what did you learn and how did you get through it? In the moment, how did you get through it and what did you come away learning from that?
I'm not going to go into such crazy details as to the circumstance because it was traumatic, but like I went from this scene of like, my grief counselor described it to me from a high to a low, from like one of the biggest celebrations of my career with my team at my birthday party, my first Art Basel, to literally like 10 minutes after they left, to being hit by a car. I I pretty much like, I didn't blacked out, not from alcohol. I was actually sober. I showed up at the scene of the car, I filmed the whole thing, trying to assess what had happened. One assistant had been taken to one trauma unit, the other one. Watched my assistant get his brain drilled into right in front of my face, no joke. Then having to go straight from there to my children to be a mom while everyone's wishing me a happy birthday. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? I realized that I was super fucked up when I got home to New York and I saw my kids in bed and I had no emotion for them. And my kids were my everything. I realized I was messed up.
You were dead inside because that's your body like dampening emotions because it can't deal with how strong they are.
Completely dead. And I had a grief counselor reach out to me on Instagram. Thank God. Debbie Mizrahi saved my life.
Shout out.
Okay? Shout out.
Huge plug.
She said, yeah, saved my life. She doesn't even care for plugs. That's the thing. She just cares about what she does.
She's a therapist.
A grief counselor specifically. She specializes in suicide, rape. So actually, she reached out, offering me 3 free sessions. And then I actually started seeing her like 5 to 7 hours a week. I, in the beginning, needed to be babysat by my friend's family. So literally, I didn't jump off my balcony. I was in a bad place, and I still had to figure out how to make money, how to be a mom, how to be a businesswoman, how to pick up the pieces of everything that just got pulled under me, deal with, like, one assistant was still alive but had problems. I don't even want to talk about it. But that grief counseling actually saved my life because after I dealt with the initial PTSD of whatever the freak happened from that car accident, you know, throughout the course of that work, I brought up my daddy issues, my abandonment issues. I actually also was sexually assaulted when I was younger. I was raped when I was younger. I never dealt with it. I thought I got out unscathed. She kind of made me realize I didn't, based on certain behaviors that I was exhibiting. And she taught me a lot about learned behaviors that you learn during your, you know, fundamental years, during your formative years as a child, especially like 10 to 20, very formative years. Had very non-traditional, I'd say, high school experience. Bullied. I was super popular. Girls didn't like me. Interesting experience. She made me realize it really wasn't normal. Helped me heal a lot. And then, but again, I had to do the work, and the work was a lot of time, a lot of energy, and a lot of freaking money. And instead of spending money on stupid things that don't matter, I invested about $100,000 into therapy when I really didn't have money. Every disposable dollar I put into therapy. And I'm really grateful for all that.
I love that message though, because like some people, if they make a bag in their lives and they get some money, it's like you could spring for the sports car, and there's nothing wrong with it. But if you spend that money on therapy and good therapy, that gift might give a lot more in the future.
Wow,
that's crazy.
You by the way, you really trauma dump or whatever you dump content. Like every single thing, there's 100 things I can respond to in and of itself. Yeah. I want to go back to the art for a second, the business side of things. It sounds like once you started painting, you right away it was simultaneous with the business side of things. Is there anything you could teach? I just want to know for all the female entrepreneurs out there, because I think female entrepreneurs they've definitely voiced that they have a little bit more of a difficult time in their respect than male entrepreneurs. They feel it's more difficult. Very possibly it is. I'm not a female, so I can't really talk to it. I'm curious how you see that, A, and B, what tips you can give to female entrepreneurs, male entrepreneurs as well, but just, people starting out.
I think all entrepreneurs, I didn't do it this way. I did it through sheer necessity and tenacity and resilience. I wish I had been a little more structured and research-oriented in the beginning. Again, my career happened by accident, so I didn't know it was going to happen. I wish I had kind of put proper structure in place legally, from an LLC to an accountant, bank accounts, keeping track of the books, because having to go backwards and like put order to that is a big pain in the ass. I wish I had mentors from the beginning. I learned by making a lot of mistakes. If you're going to find mentors, usually mentors worthwhile are very busy. You need to see how you can be a valuable asset to them, how you can help their life, so they're going to give you even an inkling to help you.
So you had mentors in the entrepreneurial space, or art mentors also?
I have business mentors. No one I really work with is in art. Okay. I was a painter. When I left, I knew I needed to go into consumer product. When I was my only business experience prior to leaving my marriage and kind of starting Priv and working unofficially for them was in college. I was an intern for a fashion company, for a wholesale brand. And I wanted to apply that same business model to tabletop, basically, to dishes. That's what I loved. I had a vision. I was working on a plan. By the way, start with the numbers. Every entrepreneur, don't start with your vision. Do not start with your creative. If you have creative and you have a vision, okay, that's there. But look at the numbers. Look at your cogs. Explain that. You might have a vision and you want to do something, but if the numbers don't make sense, you're not gonna make money. Okay. Start with a financial model, which you might have to outsource and pay somebody, right? Delegate and pay for the things that you're not the best at, in order to make sure that it's a viable business model. And that's not something I did. That's something that I'm doing now. Everything always was asked backwards. So yes, start with your financial models.
Here's my question though. People want to do what they're extremely passionate about, right? Especially entrepreneurs. If you become the best in whatever it is in the world, there's a financial model that will make sense in the thing that you're passionate about. Do you agree with that, first of all, or not?
No. See,
why do you not
you're
agree with that?
reverse engineering. No. Just figure out what you want to do. You need to know your creative passion, obviously, what you want to do. But then put it into a business plan first. See if it makes sense. What's your sourcing? What are your costs of goods? What's your retail price, right? Because you can have a vision. And again, if you have a vision to make this painting and sell it for $1,000, but it's costing you $2,000 to make because your labor on your, but you have to build a financial model. And again,
build a painting that's worth $3,500 then. That's the way I see it. Become good enough that your painting's worth $3,500.
Yeah, but I, in the beginning, wasn't even counting how many hours were going into the painting, right? I was oh my God, I can paint. Haha, this is so cool.
Right. I wanna ask a few questions now about your art, especially because I'm in a room filled with it. And right now, art is what's on my mind. You've talked a lot about interior design or home goods and tabletop. What'd you call it? Tabletop. But I'm seeing the art, and it sounds like you're in your previous life before all of this. You were, in your own words, you said you were a Jewish American princess. You were the housewife, and so when you first started this, it sounds like you were aiming more for doing like home goods and stuff like that, and then you started painting.
Opposite. I started painting. I said, okay, I'm never gonna make enough money as an artist. Like at the time, I was selling my paintings for $2,000. Now I'm selling paintings for $30,000. Okay, but still, it's not scalable, right? So when I left, I said I need to go into consumer product. I need to translate my creativity.
Right.
Yeah, started with painting.
But where did the painting come from? Like what?
Hashem. Shamaim.
Literally.
Shamaim.
This is sort of what I mean.
Literally, you go through all this trauma. You're recently divorced. You need money. Most people, I'm not crazy here, most people would say, I need to make a lot of money. I know what'll work. Painting. Like that is not what
So actually, I thought my plan, my vision, when I realized I need to make money was to become a chef. I wanted to do like basically what I did for myself, but for other people, private dinner parties, 20 people, gorgeous table, delicious food, good vibes. And that's what I was in my head conjuring. And then my art just happened. Like I literally painted, put it on my Instagram in my son's nursery, got a DM saying, hey, I love your art. I just moved. Could you make me something? And I said,
Is that literally how it started?
Yeah.
You just posted, like you had no plans of selling art. You made a painting.
Three paintings,
That's all it takes, right? One person to be like, I like what you do and I'm willing to spend money on it. And it gets the gears rolling.
I mean, that's not all it takes. It takes a lot of tenacity and being like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to fucking knock on every single door until I make it happen.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to minimize that. I meant that's what it takes to get the ball rolling.
I want to say something, and I'm curious what you think about this, and it's going to be a controversial take, so buckle up, everyone. But I have a belief, right? A lot of women say that it's extremely difficult. As a female entrepreneur, it's much more difficult than a male entrepreneur. And I'm not saying...
It's true. It's a fact.
Hang on. Slow down. I'm not saying that that's not true and that doesn't have any truth, but I do think that there's also a piece to it that I don't think women fully understand, and this goes for myself from my own experience, how difficult it is, period, to become successful in life, ground up. I think, listen, I spent 7 years not making $1, banging down every single door to make $1. I know a lot of people that I'm close with that did the same. It's really, really difficult to start with nothing. I'm talking about $0, no money, and become something successful. I wonder if you think that there's any truth to that. Some people just give up. I know a lot of guys that give up also. But
Well, the people who are successful are the ones who don't give up, right? Like fate. What's that Winston Churchill quote?
success is when persistence and opportunity.
No,
No,
faith is not.
favors the.
Failure is not final, fatal, something. It's anyway. You only fail if you've given up, right? So I think that irrespective of gender, you will not become successful unless you're born with a silver spoon. Unless you are tenacious, resilient, have a thick skin, work harder than everybody else. You're not going to become successful doing a 9 to 5. That's not a thing. Okay.
Well, you can be successful enough. Different people have different versions of success.
Okay. So you're not going to be financially successful if you're working a 9 to 5. Okay. I don't know. You're
I
not.
strongly disagree.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I don't know a single person that is financially successful who works 9 to 5.
Success
Not
is
a
a relative
lawyer.
term.
I'm saying financially.
No,
She's making real money.
financial success is a
Relative term.
It also
Okay.
depends what you call financial success. How much money are you thinking?
That's what I'm saying.
She's
If-
referring to real money. She's talking about $500,000 to $1 million. Probably a year.
Easily, at least.
Right.
At least.
Well, I'm saying that is
I'm
a
just-
relative term.
No, I'm just saying.
Correct.
Okay. I assume
Yeah.
that's what you're saying.
There are some people who work a 9 to 5 and they do something, that
Okay,
they
to
care
be
about.
clear,
and
my
they
art
work 9 to 5.
assistants, they work 9 to 5, 10 to 6. They get paid. They're happy. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Everyone defines happiness for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Some people, money is not what makes them happy. Okay, that's a fact. And money is not one of the only things that makes me happy, but it's definitely important to me. I'm not going to pretend. I know exactly who I am, and I'm willing to work for it. Everyone has their own desires. I don't judge anyone's desires. Everybody should do exactly what they want in their life. That's a firm belief I have. Okay, so I'm just talking about myself.
100%.
Right? So people who are making real big fat checks because I want to fly business class around the world and travel because that is what I love. Okay, they need to work more than 9 to 5. They also need to get comfortable with people turning them down, saying no, speaking down to them, putting them down. They need to humble themselves in regards to men versus women. So I think men and women both need to work equally as hard to get started. But I think once you're off the ground, it is a man's world, by the way. Fact of life, okay? It's easier to
It's
raise
debatable,
capital.
okay.
No, it's
Maybe.
statistically proven that a male dollar for a female dollar, the same exact position, is not the same. I just went in January to try my first capital raise, which I was successfully doing and then stopped it. And I'm going to start doing a raise within the next few months. There was too much going on at the time. I couldn't think clearly, and that required my full attention. But
Do you think a male artist would have an easier time raising than you do in your field as an artist? Because I don't.
I'm not talking about an artist.
I'd be
I'm not
shocked.
talking-
Why not?
because you're classifying me as an artist, but really
Whatever
I'm an
you
artist
are.
and I'm a designer. That's the thing.
As a designer, do you think a male designer would have an easier time raising money than you?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm not gonna say anything. I
It's
have
the
a hard
boys' club. It's a fact. It's a fact that
You are
women.
a badass artist with badass designs. You have license deals with a tremendous amount of companies. I don't know why you think it would be that much easier for a
Okay,
male
so
to do.
I am telling you that when I went on my capital raise and I was surrounded by the boys' club, I experienced how I was being spoken to and treated. And I roll with it because I don't have an ego. I don't give a fuck. I just have an agenda and getting done what I want to get done. Okay, so they can take their big, fat, machismo egos and I can
Well, they
play
might be-
them on the violin.
Hold on, they might be a bunch of
Okay.
fucking losers. I'm not
No,
saying that
they're not losers. That's the thing. And they were perfectly nice.
I mean, doesn't
That's
sound
the
like they
thing.
were.
They are perfectly nice. This is just a man's world, okay? The world of venture capital, private equity. It's the boys' club, okay?
Here.
So
Why do you think
I
that
don't
is?
take it personally.
I
The
hear
thing
you.
is
Why do you think that is, though?
history, just like how the world was. I don't take it personally. What women need to learn is how to play that, right?
Play
Because
that
that's the reality. So you need to learn how to play that like a fucking fiddle. And if sometimes that means humbling yourself and letting them feel more powerful or smarter
Mm-hmm.
or experience whatever, just like smile until you get the check. You're so right. Oh my
So that's my
God.
question. Do you feel that victimizing yourself helps women in the situation?
I didn't say I victimized
No, I'm not
myself.
talking about you.
I fucking mentally manipulated that
You did.
motherfucker.
You did. I agree with you. I'm asking for the other women that give up
Don't give up.
And-
By the
and-
way,
and
and men
feel
don't
bad.
give up either.
and feel bad and walk away from it and just sit there and complain about
Well,
it. You
here's
didn't
the thing.
complain.
You need
just
to have
do.
a thick skin. I have a thick skin because I went through a lot of life. But I have a friend. She's the sweetheart, but she she's an artist and she wants to get her name out there. And she said, oh, I reached out to him. He said no. And I'm like, okay, and so go on to the next.
There you
Don't
go.
take it personally. And so they said no, it wasn't the right opportunity for you. God closed that door for a reason, and move on.
That's
and don't
exactly
sulk.
what I just said, by the way, before. It's not that I told you so that I'm saying. I'm saying that a lot of people give up, not just women. Men for sure give up. And I think men honestly do have a little bit of a more, I'm not going to give up stubborn personality than a lot of women. It's just what it is, in my opinion. They, for whatever reason, are just more aggressive or whatever, say fuck you to whoever and just go on to the next thing. But I think not giving up is a huge, huge aspect in this.
Well, the thing is, you have to understand, so men can be aggressive, but an aggressive woman is very threatening to the male ego, okay? Very threatening. So actually, in a business environment, you don't want to be always, there's that careful balance of being that alpha and beta, because alpha men will find a very alpha woman too threatening to their egos and not give them what they want. They're intimidated.
Yeah.
So you need
From
to
what
find
I've heard,
a
there's
balance.
like little subtle ways in which like women showing the exact same like sort of badassery and aggressiveness in business or in other factors get talked about very differently from the way men. It can be
I
complimented
hear
in
you.
men, and it can be
I'm
like,
not saying that anything you're saying isn't true. I'm just saying at the end of the day, I do think that if, at the end of the day, I think if women ultimately don't give a fuck and they play the badass game, and they do, I think they will be successful. Regardless to whatever any guy has to say, talent ultimately wins. And I think if, just like in your case, you don't give a shit.
It's not just, it's tenacity wins.
Whatever, okay,
Talent doesn't
talent,
win.
tenacity.
Tenacity.
It's all this, I'm referring to that.
can you describe tenacity? Like,
Just grit.
Tenacity is
that grit?
Is
Is that-
resilience. It's
resilience.
not it's not stopping.
Not
it's
taking
not,
no for an answer.
have you
Correct.
gotten a lot of no's in this journey?
What are you kidding? All the
Like big
time I get
no's.
no's. Yes. What do you think? I no's for every 20 no's for every yes.
Of course.
Okay.
20 no's for us.
20
Hey,
no's
it's not
for
a
yes.
point
That's my
to
point.
me.
Most people
I'm not an
can't
entrepreneur.
handle. Most people cannot handle rejection. That's why
It's an ego thing.
That's why I don't like I don't know. It's my personal thing. I don't like that whole. I think a lot of people just give up, and I think that's where a big part of this comes from. It's my honest belief.
Very
And lack of
possible.
success in entrepreneurship.
Well, most businesses fail within the first 5 years of
Right.
starting, and it's because they are not tenacious enough.
Yeah.
It's just D.
Okay. No, you go ahead, Zach.
Okay, switching the conversation a little bit. I want to talk about the actual content of your art. I'm seeing it does. Would you say that the room I'm sitting in right now, for those of us who can't see on camera, we are literally surrounded by like a swath of her arts. I don't know if that made no sense. What I
Are
said.
these cheers? Sorry to interrupt. Are these cheers your art?
Yes, these are actually, so these chairs are a licensing deal with the largest manufacturer of office furniture in the United States, the Raynor Group. These are currently for sale on OfficeDepot.com, OfficeMax.com, Staples.com.
I'm taking one home.
Pray
with me.
for me to
I'm
get
gonna
them
try-
into retail, please, because that can change my life.
Hashem, please.
But yes, my artwork translating onto different products, wallpaper, custom shades, blackout shades, desks, chairs, all sorts of things, rugs, tile, etc.
What I was going to ask was just simply, is the room I'm in a good, what's the word I'm looking for? Representation of the sort of art you do? Because there's a bunch of different styles here. It's not.
There's a lot more, actually. I do many styles. There aren't so many butterflies. I do geometric abstractions. I have a whole butterfly series. I do this photo series where I paint photos, so I can really paint anything. I have quote series. I paint anything from landscapes to animals to foliage to florals to pictures in St. Barths to your favorite car, your favorite watch,
Can
your
I
favorite
point out
child.
a few things that I'm noticing that
Tell
seem
me.
to be Elizabeth Sutton motifs? First of all, bright colors. Definitely butterflies, bright colors, but also it's almost all pop art. Actually, I think it is all. I would
Pop,
consider it
yes.
is all pop, and it's all cell shaded.
Cell shaded?
It's a certain type of. It's a word from back from like when I was into video games. It's the type of illustration.
I know what you're saying.
It's you get like
So I do have
it's
one
a certain stylized sort of
geometric, very geometric.
yeah, even with the paints that aren't just geometric like
Similar
this.
to someone else that I've seen. He's in Miami. I forgot his name. Not Alec Monopoly. There's another company. Wow.
He's killing it though.
Alec is a G. Well,
He is a
he's in the
genius.
celebrity world, so it's a whole different thing. It's not even his art; it's the celebrity
I wish
status.
I had the
He
language
goes
to-
out and likes
yeah.
to party, and I'm not.
he's
I'm
a
a
gro-
single mom of two.
a
I
gro-
like to work on my laptop till midnight. I think if I partied more, I probably would have been more successful already.
No, but there's someone else. I forgot who it is. I'm blanking on it.
That
But
part of entrepreneurship, I feel like I'd be very good at. I
I'm
can
not
hang.
good at that
I can
part.
hang.
I cannot
we're getting to that part of things.
But yeah, I'm wondering why these sort of things inspire you. You seem to be inspired very much by like,
So I
Yeah, what
personally
is
love
about it?
color. I love bold colors. So the reason why this is not a good representation of my work is because I am actually a specialist in all palettes, whether it's completely beige, completely grayscale, navy scale, green scale, doesn't matter. I really like to deliver, most of my work at this point is custom commissions for clients. So I like to deliver to my clients artwork that makes them feel good, that gives them positive energy. And for a lot of people, that might be all beige, right? So I try to understand my clients' needs and deliver them that. For me, I love bold color. I had a lot of darkness in my life. And I think that color is energy, color is life. The messages you surround yourself are very
important.
are very impactful. And I started surrounding myself with a lot of positivity, good energy, phrases, quotes that I needed to remember. Half of my career is me painting things and good memories that I just needed to surround myself with so I could get out of that dark place.
if I may, I could just read off words I'm seeing in this room right now. Art heals all wounds. Life is fucking complicated. What does this say?
Life-
Richest at my poorest, poorest at my richest.
Interesting.
So I was the happiest when I had the least money, and I was the least happy when I had the most money.
So you're the least happy now?
No, the most happy. This is back when I got divorced, but I still don't have the most money I ever had. But again, it was more like
don't?
No, I don't. I will though.
Where did you come from?
I will though. But again, it was more like people think that money makes you happy, and it straight up doesn't.
Oh,
really
it
doesn't.
helps. It helps. I think it maybe
Doesn't
I'm
help you be
telling
happy. It
you
helps
that it doesn't make you
make
happy.
you
I
happy.
had a lot of money and I wasn't
help
happy.
makes your life
Situations.
easier. Yes.
Yes, but
Doesn't
life
make you
being
happy.
easy.
Okay,
can make you
now
happy.
let me tell you the flip side.
Sure.
I had a lot of money,
Sure.
and it was and I realized, and I knew I was unhappy, but the money was a band-aid on my unhappiness, so I stayed for longer than I should have. Okay.
Ooh.
Okay.
You stayed in a bad situation because there was money there.
And I didn't realize that was one of the things pushing me to stay, but I was wasting my happiness because I wasn't happy. So what's a lot of money if you're not happy on the inside? Okay,
true.
so it can really actually be a bad blinder. And
Sure.
I know a lot of trust fund kids who were never encouraged to work because they had a lot of money. They were never motivated. And what do they make of themselves? Nothing. They fucking do drugs.
Yeah, money also, it's very hard to work on yourself when you have money. Maybe that's what happened to me. But because of the fact that money's a blinder, like you said. It's very hard to look in the mirror and say, hey, I have an issue when you have
But
a
you-
fuck
when
ton
you're
of money
paid.
in your bank account. But you're like,
Yeah.
oh, well, I'm successful. Who could tell me what to do? I figured out everything in life.
I think
'cause
celebrity works the same way. It's why a
Sure.
lot of celebrities act like toddlers, is because actually the second someone put it really well, the second you become famous, your maturity freezes right there. And so especially it's why child actors don't do well in life, is because their emotional growth stops the second they're famous.
it's hard to look in the mirror and say there's a problem with me when
Yeah.
you're the top.
That's an
of the world.
overgeneralization.
But
by the
I
way.
also think it's like based on the individual.
So
right?
true. Yeah.
I agree with you 1,000,000%. It is based on the individual. I work on myself all the time. And but seriously, I have a quick question for you. Is this a normal? By the way, first of all, I love your art. I love the design.
you.
It's so up my alley, and I actually want to talk to you. First of all, that picture is sick.
You know,
Look
that's
at
a
that
very,
picture.
very famous picture.
Not Geo, Afghani girl.
Yeah,
It's
that's
the most
like
beautiful
the
woman
I
in
most
the
don't
world.
famous
even know.
Most
photographs of
beautiful.
all time.
I'm glad I have good taste because I'm just looking at it. I'm like, that is sick.
Yeah.
But either way,
Eyes are really good.
the whole oh my god, those blue eyes. Anyways, I don't want to get too carried away. But here's my question. My question is this a normal thing to be in like 1,000 different dimensions of art? Like you're not just paintings, you're like consumer products, tabletop stuff.
So the way that my career got so diversified. So currently right now I have fine art and prints. I have products I manufacture and distribute myself. My clutches, which I need to grow distribution. I launched that right before COVID. Talk about timing.
And belts, right?
Clutches, belts, bags,
What are clutches? Like the things
like
you-
a type of
evening
purse.
bags, evening
purses.
bags.
Oh.
And then I have a number of licensing deals. And the reason why my career got so scattered and let's just call it diversified is because that car accident really fucked me up. I was working on one thing. The car accident happened. I was a mess. I I basically coped through that accident through achieving things, but there was no cohesive strategy to what I was achieving. I scored my first licensing deal. I realized that that could be a viable way to both grow my name and make money. And after that, I said, okay, my real talent is that I'm a very prolific designer, whereas certain people can only design one medium. They can design cars, they can design furniture. I can literally design anything. I'm an expert at scale, patterning, balance, texture, composition,
And all self-taught.
color contrast. And so I just see the product and I understand, okay, a 50% increase in the scale is going to make or break that product from a visual perspective. And most designers are not able to do that. And so I realized that licensing was a really good route for me, because if I could somehow manage to get 20 deals a year, I could whip out 20 collections a year. And that is a lot more, that has a lot higher ROI on my time, right? Return of investment on my time. Even if I'm selling a painting for $30,000, that painting took me 400 hours. So calculate that, right? And we're not making a lot of money per hour, right?
Can you say that again? Because I don't think people realize how much effort goes into these paintings. 400 hours.
This painting will have taken 400 hours
That's
total.
a lot of time.
So
get it. It's
anywhere from
also-
40 to 400 hours. No, but people don't realize it, right? Like there are 4 people. Now I'm in the studio and we have these recording, but I sent 3 art assistants downstairs to work in my living room, that there have been 4 people on this painting every single day for a month and a half.
Okay, wait. Take it back a second. Other people are working on the paintings with you.
Absolutely.
This is the part of why I immediately thought of Andy Warhol.
The factory,
Like, this
yes.
is a factory. Meaning you're almost like, you're coming up with the idea for the painting, but then you have a team.
Who helps execute 100%.
And are you interested at all in mass-produced, like...
Yeah, I still can't mass produce it, because there's a step to all my artworks that you can't replace me. So there's only so much of it I can do. If you look at the biggest artists now, Jeff Koons, Hearst, Koons doesn't do any of his own art.
I hate her so much. I'm sorry, but I do.
He's a
Can't stand
genius.
him.
I
He's a
don't hate him
genius
at
at
all.
marketing,
He's
but
a
I hate his
genius.
stuff. Koons I like.
Neither of them do their own art. Okay,
Well, Koons
Keith
designs
Haring.
it.
I didn't say they didn't conceptualize their own art. They
sorry.
don't create their own art.
I
I
am
wish I
officially
painted all day
checking out
long.
of this
You
conversation
might
right
know.
now,
You might know Koons.
because I don't know anything what you guys are talking about.
No, you've seen Jeff Koons.
Talking about this
For
like
sure.
it's
The
NBA.
balloons,
Giant
the
balloon
shiny-
dogs. They're like made out of shiny plastic. They're
Right, they're-
everywhere. Every museum in goddamn Earth has them.
I haven't been to a museum anytime in my life, honestly. You have to know
Really?
you're
That's a shame. That's a shame.
For me, it's not a shame. I'm not a museum guy. It's just not who I am.
Oh well.
Art will change your life. I'm telling you.
No, I love art. I'm sitting here and enjoying it. But if you know me, I don't sit still for a second. I want to walk.
Label. There are places in New York that are like this room, only much bigger, and it's free. You can just walk in and walk around.
I'm doing it right here. This is cool.
By the way, this is the coolest. You don't get this in New York. At the Met, you're getting some like old school art that's carefully curated. This energy where it's like in your face.
Yes.
That's not what
I
you're
feel like
getting.
I'm in
I'm
an
a huge Met
apocalypse.
fan.
I'm just surrounded by bright colors and like cool things.
That's the apocalypse to you?
Maybe that's the wrong word, but no, I mean,
I'm going to call it utopia.
You're right, utopia, whatever the hell you want to call it. This is cool. This is
Gan
cool.
Eden.
Here's my question though. So, do your kids? You have a girl, right, and a boy?
boy
for
and a
that
girl,
matter.
yeah.
Boy and girl. Do your kids? Did you get them into art as well? Are they naturals?
My daughter is hyper creative. She literally was born strapped in a baby papoose to my chest, and like with me painting and her dangling body over my art. She is so creative. It's insane. My son is more interested in sports and math and history and geography. I say she's gonna one day cross Elizabeth off of my name and write the Norris Son collection, and Mira will be the CFO. But really, I want them to do specifically what makes them happy, not what makes me happy, right? Like mislabeled, let them be outside the box and do them, whatever makes them happy. I think my kids definitely take for granted all the creativity that they live around. They don't even realize it's not normal.
Right. Why they don't go to their friends' houses and realize, oh, your mom it doesn't like have a team of people working on paintings?
I don't think they realize, to be
Do you
honest.
think? So it sounds like you think she's gonna be like next level talented, like probably do something like this as well.
Honestly, it's foo for all of the problems or challenges, not problems, for all the challenges, for all the blessings God gave me in my life. He really blessed me with my children. They're kind, sweet, intelligent, beautiful. It's foo. My daughter has so much personality and so much talent. I do think she's actually going to be a designer. My son has a photographic memory. If he's turning 8, if you speak to him, you're going to feel like you're talking to a 40-year-old. I kid you not. And whatever he decides to do, I tell my kids, as long as they do their best, they're winners.
That's really nice because I know a couple 40-year-olds that I feel like I'm speaking to an 8-year-old. So
You're going to talk to my son, you're going to be like, what the F? Literally.
good.
I love that. Do you think it's an important thing for parents to get their kids involved in some sort of art, no matter what it is?
So I think it's important for parents to be more open and honest with their children. And a lot of people will disagree with me. And I have a crazy parenting style. I'm very mature with my kids and keep it real. And some people are like, oh my God, you can't
like
tell
adults?
that to your kids to a degree. And I will tell you that I get more compliments on my kids than anything else. Like, my kids will come home from play dates and the parents will tell me, wow, like you have the nicest, sweetest kids. They were so polite. They're so smart. They're so sweet. And I know that not every parent gets that. And I really do think that it's because I have such a close bond with them that I really am open with them. I couldn't hide my life from them. Like, my life was falling apart as I was raising them. So I always kept it as real as possible without trying to scare them, but let them know that they have such a privileged life. You know, me growing up, I didn't realize how much privilege I came from. Yes, I had trauma, but I also had a lot of privilege, and I wasn't even aware of the degree to which I was privileged because everyone around me was privileged. So when that's just your normal, it's hard for you to really appreciate it. And I know my kids are growing up amongst that privilege and wealth, and I don't want them to be like me, not realizing that most people in the world don't have that. I try and raise really very grateful children and realize that it doesn't come without hard work.
Love that.
That's amazing.
I love that. I think that's very important for everyone to realize.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I have a friend of mine, a good story. I have a friend of mine who lives in Lakewood, and he's like a super cool guy, not like your classic way you think Lakewood is, even though Lakewood has changed. But either way, I always tell him, and we go to him for Lakewood a lot, and I always tell him, I'm like, get the hell out of Lakewood, dude. Just come to the Five Towns or come to the city or whatever. And he says, Label, you don't understand. If I'm ever having a bad week in business, the only thing I need to do is I walk into shul on a Friday night, I can pick up 4 new clients. It's like the social network here is so powerful. And people don't realize that most people in the world don't have that opportunity to just step into a shul or a congregation of any sorts and pick up 4 clients who are each probably extremely wealthy and running successful businesses to just give money over to give money over to him, you know, and instantly have that boost. So I think that's a beautiful
Well, I'm going to be
sentiment.
honest. I didn't experience a lot of support from the community. And I think maybe it's because I'm a woman. Okay. When I left, the Syrian community that I was married to did not support me at all. There are a bajillion Syrian real estate developers. Tell me why none of them have come to me to work together. I designed tile for projects, the major food group, Mario Carbone.
I'm sure there's a lot that would do
hotels.
it.
Not a single one.
I guarantee
has
you
come,
I can connect you right now with 10 different real estate
not
developers.
a single Jewish
Did you
real
reach out
estate
to them?
developer. First of all, yes, I have. And second of all, they know exactly what I do. And if they want to give me opportunity, they could.
You think
And
they're out to get you? What do you think it is?
I think that I'm threatening to, again, I'm specifically speaking about my experience.
Right,
Maybe
it's a
I'm
personal experience.
threatening. Maybe I left someone important. Who knows? I don't know. Maybe I'm a female.
Liz,
Okay.
Liz,
I'm telling you right now, it's
Liz,
very
you
different.
are a badass artist. I swear
I
to
know,
Hold on,
but
let me
I'm
just say-
telling
let
you
me
my
just say one-
experience with the
let's not have it
community.
started.
Let me just say one thing, because this is very important. I know a lot of different real estate developers and a lot of different real estate owners. There are a nice handful for sure that would have no freaking problem using your stuff. Zero. I don't know who you're hanging around. I'm not saying all of them would. I'm sure there are a lot of dicks in the world. There's a lot of them. I agree. But there's also a lot of them that are not, that have no problem using your stuff. Your stuff is freaking gorgeous. There's no one that would be like, oh, I'm not using you.
I'm
because
just
you're a
being
female.
honest. I do have a lot of clients who are, Jewish,
Jews.
but they're not necessarily from the community I come from. They're just not. I'm being
Syrian specifically?
It's not just Syrian.
Orthodox,
No,
not
I'm
Orthodox.
correct. Right? Like I have some clients in that community, but not many. Most of my clients
mind me
don't
asking,
fall into that community.
What is your
don't
current
mind.
relationship with like Jewish observance, if that's not too personal?
I love Judaism.
Mm-hmm.
I have a strong belief in God. I talk to God every single day.
Wow.
I pray my own prayers every single day. Am I reading from the Siddur? Absolutely not. I literally
You're
say
probably better off.
prayers. I say prayers with my children every night before bed. You ask my kids to express gratitude. They start their prayers. dear God, thank you for blessing me with our health, our life, our love, or, I say prayers every night, kind of personal, but every single night I talk to God. God is the only thing that has never failed me. And right now I'm needing to really rely a lot on God and learning to trust the universe, because I don't have a lot of trust with life. I've lost a lot of things, like things that were in front of my face and then pulled out from under me. My kids go to Ramaz. Okay, so it's a yeshiva, modern Orthodox yeshiva. I keep a kosher home. I light Shabbat candles every week with my kids.
Do they go to sleepaway camp?
So they go to Deal and then we travel.
Oh, okay.
So
no, I worked as a counselor at a camp for many years with a lot of Ramaz kids.
So no, they get out of the city. And actually, I'm dating someone European, so
He
trying
lives
to
in Europe?
expose. Well, now he lives here. He moved here for me, but he did. He lives in Switzerland, so I have to figure out that balance.
Awesome.
But
That's got to feel good.
I teach my children that to respect all religions. We are obviously proud Jews. I do think that we have tiger blood. A lot of people have tried to take us out, and we are always surviving and thriving, which is why they try and take us out. I do see a lot of beauty to the community, and I see a lot of hypocrisy to the community as well. I don't think that the community is immune of regular things that happen in life, right? They just happen more on the DL, and people don't talk about them, and they pretend that they don't exist. For me, that's a big problem. Okay.
I would agree 1,000%.
It's part of what we do with this pod.
It definitely is accurate. If it's, I don't know how meaning I don't know how extreme it is to the degree that you may claim it. I definitely agree it happens. I wonder if it's more that it happens in the formal community versus or Orthodox community versus any other religious community. I do wonder that.
The whole world, it happens everywhere.
Right.
It's just that the community pretends it doesn't. That's the thing. We're not immune to normal things like homosexuality, okay? I promise you that we have a lot of homosexuality within the community. People who are not accepted, okay, and who suffer and struggle and who get married and deny exactly who they are their whole lives. What kind of life is that?
I agree. That's terrible.
Not a fantastic
My only
one.
question is, do you think they happen more in the Orthodox community as opposed to Muslim community, Catholic community?
No, I think they're all the same. I think that a lot of religions suppress individuality. Yes. I think society in general suppresses individuality.
Yes,
I think that American society is, while somewhat suppressive, is more individualistic, like the American grit. But religious communities are always collectivist. They're always more about do everything for, you have to fit in, you have to do things for the klal, for the congregation. And that is a beautiful thing, but it also comes with a lot of like pressure and suppression, and you need to fit in. If you're not X, Y, and Z, then you're out. And that's there's a good side and a bad side to it.
Listen, even my family, when I left my marriage and I started being, I guess public and speaking vulnerably, or this is very inappropriate to them. They don't like this. Sharing all my dirty laundry with the public, right? That's not what I'm doing. I'm trying to help people understand that we actually have a lot of shared experiences, and if people were only more real with it and open, that they'd realize that a lot of people go through the same shit and they're not the only ones struggling, and people come out on top. And if you don't talk about it, you're never going to know that. My family took a long time, and probably, to be honest, to a degree, still don't accept exactly who I am, what I do. And it was very hurtful for me.
Can I just ask one thing, because I don't fully get it. What exactly did your family not accept when you were first? What were you doing specifically?
First and foremost, I got a divorce with a 3-week-old. Okay? I had strangers, I'm talking proper strangers from the community, people who I spoke to one time in my life, calling me and being like, I think you're just hormonal. You just had a baby. I don't think you're thinking straight, and this is what you want to do. And I was just like, fucking excuse you. Maybe you're miserable in your marriage and you don't have the balls to leave. I don't know who the fuck you think you are calling me to say that. I don't even know you. Like how do you even have the balls to do that?
Yeah, of course. That's just crazy. I'm saying, okay, what else? Fine.
There was a lot of that. There was a lot of that.
No, though. I get that. I'm just saying from your family, because
well, let me tell you something. When I became divorced, all of a sudden, and I didn't realize this, because for me in my head, I was like at my lowest low. It was before the car accident, so little did I know. But I was shunned. Like, people to them, I now became a threat again because I was single. I'm hot. I'm not like, I'm sorry, I'm aware, self-aware, I'm pretty. I guess I was threatening to them. Maybe they thought their husbands were going to flirt with me. Who fucking knows? But I was really struggling, and like, I was not being accepted. I was not being welcomed. I was not being invited to hang out with the parents. Like, oh, but it's couples. Well, what the fuck do you want me to do? I'm not a couple, so I'm not invited? Right? Like, I'm confused. So now my kid's not invited because you're all couples in a family and I no longer have a husband. So am I less of a family? Because I'm just confused.
Religious world also seems to be very built for full family units.
What the fuck does that mean?
No, so I don't.
No, I wasn't saying that like a compliment. I was saying that not an insult. It's just an observation. Is that like people who are single or divorced, they just have less space in the religious world.
Because it's not accepting.
Look,
yeah, because I think people find it perhaps maybe a little bit threatening because like so much of not threatening like because the whole Judaism has always thrived on like the family unit and like people keep trying to kill us. I'm just trying to explain like maybe some of the psychology. I'm not saying that's right, but like what that does is we become this like obsessed with like the full family unit.
You know, well, I realize that the full family unit that they sell us and they teach us to get married young and you have a family and full family unit, half those families are miserable, cheating, lying.
I would hope not have.
I would hope not have. No. Like I said, do you think that the Jewish community is, okay, so 50-60% of the world is divorced, right? Now Jews don't get divorced as much. Nope. Do you think that the level of unhappiness is any different, or they stay because of the community?
That is so above my pay grade to answer.
But who cares? Why is that? I'll ask you a question. Who cares? And the reason why who cares is because it's not about whether it's true or not. It's more about what are the values that we hold and whether or not those values are being followed. So if people are following the values that we believe in,
that's the thing. They're not following the values.
But that's a different discussion. But at least we're religious and try to be firm because of those values. Whether or not people are keeping those, to me, is okay, so they have to keep them. We keep, and everyone would agree. Listen, the last generation had a lot of couples, people that all the millennials will tell you that half the millennials will say, our parents should have gotten divorced, and they didn't. And they're just miserable. They'll die miserable together. That's right. You'll always hear that, and I get that. I'm not going to go into all the details on this, but all I will say at the end of the day that I get that, but that doesn't take away from the beauty, in my opinion, of the family unit. And I don't think it's a firm thing versus not a firm thing or a Jewish thing.
So I think you can have a family unit while still being divorced. That's the thing, right? You can still have a family unit while still being divorced. But I will say that because the community is religious, I, to an ethical perspective, hold them to a higher level when the actual ethics are not aligned with the level of religion, right? Like, if you're religious, you are honest. You don't cheat. You don't steal.
Why do you hold those people to a higher level? They're individual people.
Because they're pretending to be holier than they're pretending to be religious. The basis fundamental values of Judaism are ethics. Don't cheat. Don't steal. Have respect. Okay. I'm sorry, I'm going to call it out. There's a lot of that in the community. And to be honest, that is how I woke up. I realized that there was a lot of hypocrisy in the community that existed that I wasn't aware of when I was younger, and then I started to see it.
I'm not arguing with you even a little bit. I think you're 100% right. My only question to you is, why does that change anything? The fact that, why don't you focus on the people that are from and doing the right thing?
I do, by the way. So then who cares that there's a bunch?
So I'm saying, who cares if they're religious or not? I don't see why that makes a difference. There's a lot of people that aren't religious. I would look at it the same way personally as people that are not religious in any way. There's a lot of good people that are not religious in any way. There's a lot of bad people. Again, I don't think the fact you grew up religious should make for a difference. Like, most people who are religious are just doing it because they just grew up that way. It's not even like a thing to them. They don't even I don't know why.
First of all, you should realize why you live your life a certain way. I think that's part of like maturity and being an adult. But I'm also just saying that the community, instead of pretending it doesn't exist, should address that it exists and try to help it. Not turn a blind eye to its existence, right?
I agree with that.
I think we're all in agreement there.
That's 100%. That I 100% agree with. I 100% agree with that. Listen, I'll be honest. I grew up in a lot of ways. I feel very similar to you. I promise. It may sound like I don't. I'm playing the devil's advocate side. I personally have come out of it looking at a certain way. I don't judge Judaism by the Jews. I have a very clear understanding that just because I lived through a lot of things that I believe were a lot of injustices, it doesn't have any reflection to me on Torah, on God, on any of those things. I've surrounded myself my whole life with great, great people. Like, that's the truth, despite being around a lot of other people in my youth that were very bad people. And I've grown from that. And I just have chosen to not bring in that side of the people that are just not good people and not worked on people. And that's it. And my job, so that's how I see it. And I don't think people are just, I honestly think there's so many people, regardless of race, religion, whatever, they're just not worked on. That's it.
I agree.
They're just lost.
I agree, but I think the community needs to do a better job of helping those people instead of
turning a blind eye.
I
agree 1,000,000%. By the way, there's so many in the community that are in positions of power that have the exact issue we're talking about. So it's very difficult. It's the blind teaching the blind, Now, at the same time, there's a lot of people that are not the blind and are leading the community. And I think those people have come out, by the way, in recent years. And I think, I'm not going to say names, but there are people that have been brought out in the last 10 years, 15 years that everyone has tremendous, tremendous respect for the way that they're leading, call it the claw, just for the, right? There are people, I'll just throw out Rabbi Kalish or different people that have come out very, very, and are very well known as opposed to just doing the traditional thing that,
there seems to be a sea change in the, and by the way, I've left that world for the most part, but like I do see a sea change in the way that like the Orthodox world is treating some of these things. And hopefully there's a lot of work that needs to be done. And you seem to be someone who's doing that work. And I think it's important work to like talk about things and not let all this stuff get swept under the rug, because that has been the MO of the Jewish world for so long. It's to sweep anything not pretty, anything not perfect under the rug. And it's messed up.
It doesn't help you grow. It's the ugly sometimes that makes you the best. And I think that the community needs to be better at handling those situations and embracing them, not just handling them, embracing them.
As learning moments, as teaching moments. In a perfect world, if you were a rabbi, you should not be given a rabbi license if you've never been to therapy. In a perfect world. In a perfect world, you should literally not be allowed to have smicha without having been to therapy at least once or twice in your life. Whatever, that's just my opinion. Come after me for it.
But in fairness, I'll tell you something else.
Yeah.
You also should not be able to be a parent without taking a parent course.
Or therapy. Yeah.
Whatever. It's the same. Yes. I'm saying it's not a focus of rabbis. It's the same exact.
By the way, everyone should be every single person on this planet should be in therapy.
Everyone should go to therapy. And by the way, therapy should be cheaper.
By the way, it's
all
a
my
fortune.
right-wing views, I've been in therapy 11 years accounting. You spent 100. I'm ahead of you.
No, I spent 100 within, I'd say, like 3 years.
Yeah, you beat me.
This is insane, by the way. This is a social cause I care so much about. I'm not a well-versed in economics person. I'm a dumbass when it comes to that stuff, but someone needs to figure out a way to make healthcare work where we can get good therapy for cheaper.
Never happen.
This is America. Our healthcare system is fucked, and the best are very expensive, and it's actually sad because there are people who want to help themselves and they don't have access. Therapy is only...
I can't afford the therapy I want.
I can't afford the therapy I want. That's why I don't do it as often as I would, and I have circumstances happening in my life now that I was forced to bring therapy back into my life so I can get some, insight and resolution to some very important things. But it's costing me, upwards of $1,000 a month, which is not nothing, right?
No.
And I have a lot of bills. I have kids, I have a team. And so that's one of the reasons I am so open with my experiences to show people as their own therapy. It's okay to be open. It's okay to have gone through trauma. There's no reason to be embarrassed by it. It's okay to talk about it, right? The only way you're ever going to heal it is to talk about it. And P.S., you and everybody else are going through the same thing. Some people are just more comfortable being vulnerable, and other people will never share any of their struggles, and they are probably suffering the most.
Yeah,
couldn't agree more.
I hear that 100%, and I don't think we should get into the capitalism conversation of
No,
how healthcare works.
Yeah.
Or whether or not it's going to happen. I don't think it's ever going to happen. Whatever, but that's a longer conversation.
Well, maybe there could be space for private organizations that help pay for therapy.
Oh, for sure.
There are a lot. There
There
are support groups,
Yes.
and
I've been helped by some of them, but there needs to be more, and they need to be better funded, in my opinion.
You work from here, right?
Yes.
I'm here. There's 1,000 people. It feels like in this place. Just everyone.
How many people are in this house?
Everyone's just.
My graphic designer's in Miami. The president of my company and my head of operations are in Tampa. I have my fine art assistant, Pedro. I have 2 fine art interns this semester. I have my operations person here, Anna Maria. I have Gavril and Justin, who are all employees. And then I have about 8 to 10 interns per semester. I have my nanny.
You're
guys.
You're saying a lot of different terms, fine artist, this, that. How did you learn all those terms? Like you didn't know any of them. You didn't go to school.
Time. Just like experience the past, 5 years since the car accident. I learned, and you asked like to people getting started. I don't recommend people get started the way I get started, which is don't know anything, don't know how to do shit, learn on mistake, waste a lot of money, waste a lot of time. Spend a little more time researching and doing your due diligence, asking questions, and still you're gonna have to make mistakes and trial and error, but like a little more knowledge would have been good for me.
I'm surprised you're saying that in a certain way, because you're the type of person, like in a certain way, jumping on things and not waiting around was something you talked about earlier, and paralysis by analysis is a real thing for entrepreneurs. And forget a lot of people, they just think and research rather than sometimes you just jump the hell in.
Yeah, you still have to do it, but researching is part of doing it. That's what I'm saying.
Balance.
Don't just do it and make a mistake and lose a lot of money or whatever. Do a little research. Doing the research is doing it. It's just doing like fundamental principles underlying whatever it is that you're doing. I wish I knew what a CRM system was when I first started, okay? I wish I had started pipelining every single client and content I made. I use Cloze, C-L-O-Z-E. It's honestly, I use two tools that are my favorite tools that I picked up in the past like year and a half that have changed my life. Cloze, which is a CRM system that also has AI, so like templates, automated responses, reminders, pipelining, tags, so you can really have segmented messaging once you're, connecting that to your newsletter system, whether it's MailChimp, ActiveCampaign, Klaviyo, it doesn't matter. And I do so many things that the messaging going to a $30,000 fine art client is not the same messaging going to a $300, fashion client. And so Cloze helps me organize all that. But I didn't even know what a CRM system was, even though I went to business school I studied business when I was younger.
They probably don't teach you anything there.
Nothing. Zero. I learned nothing in school.
There you go.
Even though I graduated with like a 3.9 plus.
I dropped out. Don't worry. We're in the same.
I learned from like the School of Hard Knocks, but I wish I had known about Cloze when I was first getting started. Every single entrepreneur should have a CRM system from the day they start. From the day. Okay.
For those completely uninitiated.
Customer
relationship management. Okay.
There we go.
So you meet somebody, they're a potential prospect, lead, partner, investor, whatever the tag is. You put their name, email, phone number, certain notes you remember about them for good salesmanship. Like he has a daughter named Hannah who's 4 years old and he was born in San Francisco.
Liz's daughter is very, very talented with art, and her son talks like a 40-year-old even though he's 8.
Exactly. And the next time you're talking to me, you're going to ask me, how's my son and how's my daughter? So you are developing that personal connection. Right. But when you meet 1,000 people, how are you actually supposed to remember that unless you pipeline it somewhere? So the other tool that I love is DocSend. Oh my God, do I love DocSend. It costs you $1,800. It's a Dropbox. I think it's a Dropbox.
It's a Dropbox tool?
It's $1,800 a year.
It
worth
is.
every dollar. Closes $60 a month per email address. Also worth every dollar if you're going to use them. But DocSend, any link that you're sending somebody, any deck, any PDF, anything, it basically protects it so that they have to put their email in when they're opening it, and then you get a ton of information. How long they stayed on that document. Like if you have a 20-page PDF, it'll show you up until what page they read, right? Did they scroll down to page 11 to page 20?
Oh, wow.
Cloze will tell you when they opened the email, from where, desktop, mobile, if they clicked on any hyperlinks within the email. So it gives you a lot of data, and that gives you like a one-up from a sales perspective, right? Like if I'm waiting on a deal and I haven't heard back and I want to follow up, right? If I know that they're constantly opening my email, I know that they're engaged and I don't need to follow up and look, desperate type of thing. If they're still clicking, if they're still opening, I let it wait a little longer. If they're not clicking, I follow up. It gives you a lot of insight. And I didn't know about any of those tools or technologies when I started. The other catastrophe, deep breaths for this, okay? It's like the biggest point paid.
I guess your computer broke and you lost everything?
No. Thank God, no. But that could have happened. Someone could have hacked my Google Drive until I literally just last week, because I hired a new president who's helping me get all this stuff in order. Andy Sheldon, he was second in command at HSN for 15 years. Fucking boss. He's the new president of my company. Finally, someone who I think is really going to take this to the next stratosphere. We put everything on a hard drive, 20 terabyte hard drive. All my IP is on that hard drive because I didn't think about okay, could my Google Drive get hacked? Yes, if it does, I lose everything I've ever created. So now I have it all on a hard drive. Okay.
a hard drive isn't like just a physical hard drive like we have.
Like
Yeah,
a
it's pretty straightforward.
physical backup.
Yeah.
And I didn't know anything about SOPs. Nothing about SOPs.
What's SOPs? I don't even know. What
Standard operating procedures. So anything that you do more than once, you should have a spreadsheet with an SOP, and it should get tracked there every single time.
Exactly what I just told
Yes.
our operations person to do with you.
Yes.
Every single thing, repetitively, every week you put out a podcast, the same exact. There's certain
So you should have an
We're actually in the
Excel
middle of
spreadsheet that says
working on it.
the date it was recorded, the name of the episode, the guest, the first name, last name, email, phone number, description of the episode, the picture, their headshot, their bio, the behind the scenes content, the link to the drive where all the behind the scenes content is,
Super
right?
organized.
SOPs.
Next level.
Yeah, because if you want to scale, that's the only way to do it.
That's the point. And every single thing that has to happen before every single episode goes out was check boxes. Was this done? Did we release the teaser? Did we at the right time? Every single thing.
Well, if you download Close, you can save a template for each person that you're going to outreach where it's the same thing, and then you can go in and tweak it a little bit, and you just send it out, right?
Yeah.
CR technologies, right? I wish I just knew
I did that with you,
about
don't
these
worry.
We got to get
things.
this episode sponsored by Close.
I personally want to be sponsored by Close because I fucking love them. I recommend them to everybody, and it's $60 per email address, so I only have it on my email, but I have 10 other people on my team who I would love to get onto Close for free. Shout out to Close with a Z. It's the best CRM, but it gives you more data than other CRMs like HubSpot's. First of all, extremely expensive. Salesforce, extremely expensive. Not for small businesses, and also it doesn't have as much AI integrated into it. And then you can obviously link your CRM with your newsletter system, so they're all speaking to each other, transferring data.
Do you like Close?
I love Close.
I'm asking. Quick question for you. Quick tip on how to manage everything going on, parent, while all this going on, businesses, kids. I don't know, relationship. You have a lot going on.
How do I manage it?
Yeah.
Smoke a joint.
I knew you were gonna say
You know,
that.
I've never said that publicly.
I love
This
that.
is the first time ever I've ever.
FBI, can we smoke? Please get her.
It's legal. It's just from like a brand
Can we
perspective.
smoke afterwards?
Sure.
We should have, by the way. I'm going to smoke on a pod. I've been telling Zach this.
I don't know how good of an idea that is.
Listen, now it's legal. You know what? I think alcohol is so much worse for you. That's my own personal opinion. But how do I manage it? Honestly,
Okay.
I try and take a deep breath. Now I feel I have some support. For a long time, I felt very alone. Now I feel like since hiring the president of my company, Andy Sheldon, back in October, for the first time I feel like I have someone who's A+ level and who's really risking things himself in order to jump on this bandwagon
Skin
because
in
he
the
really
game.
believes in it.
Love it.
And I also have a boyfriend. This is my longest relationship since I'm divorced. We're together now 15 months. He has definitely encouraged me to be a little more balanced, even though I love the workaholic in me, and he's been gone the past 2 nights because he's traveling for business and I work till 11:30 each night, legit. There is more to life than just work. Love, balance, going for brunch on a Saturday. Who knows? I don't know.
There are two things to life. There's work and there's brunch. There's nothing else.
No, but love, I hadn't dedicated enough energy to love. And it does, relationships take work, they take time. So there are sacrifices in other areas, but I'm happy, and I just need to have faith in God that that's going to stay and that's not going to just leave my life. And I think that me working on myself and learning to trust the universe again, because I am so jaded and cynical, it's terrible. And I really need to work on myself to trust that all the goodness that God's bringing into my life is going to stay. Because if I doubt it, that's going to be a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah,
I love it.
self-fulfilling prophecies are legit. They definitely happen. If you don't control your mind, you'll just bring in that energy right into your life.
Hashtag therapy.
You mentioned a word which triggered a question I want to ask about. You said the word AI. NFTs, AI art.
Oh, wow.
You're a businesswoman. You're in the social media space, and you're an artist. We have to talk about the NFTs.
We went there.
I
Okay.
did. Well, I also saw that you commissioned a work that seemed to be almost a deconstructed NFT.
No, someone commissioned an artwork of an NFT.
That's what I meant. Yes.
So-
but you made it.
Yeah, I painted
Yeah.
it.
Let's talk about that.
So NFTs. So first and foremost, I'm going to say that I have so much going on that I, at this moment in time, am not putting too much attention to that space, although I, to a degree, am, which I'll explain. I'm more going the licensing route because I like designing products. I really enjoy it. I like when people are, like nothing makes me happier than seeing someone with my bag or like a kid with my backpack. I'm like, oh my God, that's so cool. Nothing makes me happier than seeing my tile in a, famous restaurant. I'm like, oh my God, that's so cool and it looks beautiful. So for me, that's like from a internal personal perspective, I'm focusing more time on physical.
I just actually really wanted your opinions on NFTs
what they
in general.
so NFTs. People think that NFTs
Labels,
are
do you know what
digital
NFTs are?
artwork. Okay,
I'm not honestly not sure.
people think that NFTs are digital art. It's not what an NFT is. An NFT is a way of digitally encoding your artwork in order to track it, to track transference of ownership and creation and IP. And actually, NFTs, which everyone thinks are digital artworks, is a complete overhaul of the infrastructure underlying the asset class of intellectual property. I don't know if you're following me, but the infrastructure, right? USPTO.gov, the United States Government of Patent and Trademark Offices, and how you protect your intellectual property, IP, intellectual property, music, anything that's a patent, trademark, or a copyright, right? Anything you create. The website to file copyrights online with the government is a dinosaur. It's costly. Most artists don't know how to do it, don't have the money to do it. For a trademark, forget the attorney fees. Just the government filing fees per category is upwards of $250, okay? I have my trademark registered in 30 categories. Just the government filing fees, think about how much money that adds up to. So NFTs are actually a way of digitally encoding your IP to establish ownership at the time of creation that will then allow you to gather all future data associated with that code. So if you bought a painting from me and it was coded in the blockchain, I've actually done a lot of research into this space because I see a lot of value, but it's not actually in the value of holding the NFT and the access and whatever. It's actually in keeping track, like proper infrastructure of your intellectual property, right? If I sell a limited edition print right now, I give them a certificate of authenticity to verify that it's my print, blah, blah, blah. They keep that in a paper, in a folder, in a safe. They move, they can lose it. The value's gone. We have tracking for everything. We're in a technological world. Why is that still part of the infrastructure? I'll tell you why. It's because galleries, auction houses, museums, they try and hold, strong to that infrastructure, but eventually it's going to completely go away. And NFTs and the metaverse are actually a complete overhaul of the infrastructure underlying intellectual property in the past 100 years, the biggest overhaul.
It's in the sense that it's so secure, you're saying.
You can't argue it.
Yeah.
It's in the blockchain,
like crypto,
right? It exists.
Literally.
It's in. Okay, so this is what I learned. Okay, there's blockchain technology, which is basically if a company operated completely on a blockchain, every transaction, you'd have a perfectly honest, publicly traded company, right? Sure. Perfectly honest. Data is perfect, right? Where do we run into friction?
It's like a chef.
What causes friction? Friction is caused by imperfect data.
Yes.
Okay. I'm not your typical artist, by the way, if you can't tell by now. Friction is caused by imperfect data. When we are given imperfect data, we make decisions based on that data. The blockchain makes the data perfect. If I'm transacting on the blockchain, if I sold you this painting on the blockchain, I can't tell you it was $20,000 when I really charged you $15,000. There is a receipt, a recording on the blockchain of the transaction.
It's the most honest platform you could possibly have.
So cryptocurrency was actually the first case study for blockchain technology. It actually wasn't a good case study. Then they had decentralized finance. DeFi was the second case study for blockchain technology. The best case study for blockchain technology is NFTs.
Guys, if you didn't know, we're taking you into a deep dive into crypto and NFTs. This episode just went haywire. I don't even know how the fuck we got here, but we are here.
I'm so impressed though with you're very knowledgeable in this, which I guess makes sense.
It's her space.
But But it doesn't have. There are so many artists.
Yeah,
I'm
but
telling
she's
you,
legit.
who for sure do not know what she's talking
But
about.
she's legit, so she knows.
Well, the
If
thing
you're in
is
her
that
space, you have to know.
so many people were approaching me with NFT opportunities, and I'm like, okay, but what is it? And so I spent a lot of time really learning what this space was, because again, I have a lot of opportunities on my table. I'll make money anywhere I put my attention, God willing. God willing, thank you, God. Right? So if I'm putting money into the NFT space, if I'm putting time into the NFT space, that's time I'm taking away from licensing or painting or designing, whatever it is I'm doing. So I wasn't just going to dive in, again, research. Yeah. In the beginning, I never researched any of these things. So when NFTs came to be and I was getting approached by so many people, I was like, what is this really? Before I go and be like, yes, no problem, I'll give you digital art, let's make a quick buck.
You know what's funny? The reason why I'm pushing back on your research thing, honestly, not that I disagree with you. What you're saying is 1,000,000,000% true. And as a personal entrepreneur, friendly entrepreneur, whatever, I totally get what you're saying. Obviously, this podcast is the worst possible investment decision. I mean, I'm not doing it for return on investment. That's the honest truth. But at the same time, I'm the type of dude that once I'm freaking doing it, I want to make it successful from a financial space. So I don't want to just burn a hole in my pocket. I also want to at least make it a wash. With that being said, I do know that if I become good enough and I become famous enough, I can make a fuck ton of money. So that's my drive to become great. Because
the research is like researching other podcasts and see how they became famous.
We do a lot of that.
How did they monetize?
I do a lot of that, but I'll tell you facts. This podcast cost me a lot of money.
I understand.
If you want to make money on this podcast, you got to be very, very good. You're not going to just make money. You got to have 100, 200,000 subscribers on YouTube to start even getting close to the cost of this particular podcast. We're flying wherever we go. We're flying out different places.
Which is why we're here to announce the official mislabeled NFT line. We got nothing.
We were just in Los Angeles last week between me and you. Trip cost a quick $5K.
We're going to St. Barths next week. We'll see you there.
Cabo. I'm going to Cabo, guys.
Yeah?
Cabo, one and only Palmilla.
Is that what we're looking at right now? Is this
Yes.
Cabo?
This
I had
is-
no idea what this was.
This is a photograph I took at the one and only in Cabo. I have an exhibition there next month.
Did
I'm
you share
very
on that?
excited.
You were telling me what this is, where it's going.
So this is a custom commission for the one and only Palmilla. One and Only is one of the most premier hospitality chains in the world. Like, my personal best hospitality experience was at their property in the Maldives on my honeymoon. So, and I've been spoiled
like
before.
islands.
Yeah, I was going to say, that sounds like a very good memory for you.
Island.
It was.
Maldives honeymoon.
So for me, it's actually a huge honor to be working with the brands, like huge.
It's always cool to do work with people you actually respect in their space.
They're as good as it gets. Eden Rock was as good as it gets. So I'm actually very
Does she do
grateful and humbled.
squats?
Me? Do I do
No,
squats?
she.
That was me.
Oh, that's you? Well, in that case, do you do squats?
Hey, you're not blonde, though.
I know, because the guy who commissioned this work, his girlfriend's blonde, so I made me her.
You made you blonde.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll be honest with that. Can I say this on the pod?
No, whatever you're thinking, absolutely not.
That looks like you're doing some serious squats.
Good genetics, honestly. Good genetics.
Fantastic.
But like, I can't complain. Like, my job is to literally paint, which I love. Like, the process is very healing and meditative for me. I'm being flown to Cabo with my team to paint live for a week. They put me up in their suites.
this
you know, like,
Isn't that
I'm very
nerve-wracking
grateful.
to have people watch you in the middle of your work?
No, not at all. You know, like, people talk
thrives
about
under pressure.
creative. No, it's not hard for me. The thing is, that's not pressureful for me. That's the easy. The thing is, for me, creating is the easiest thing. That is straight from Shemaim, straight from Hashem. I did nothing to deserve it, earn it. He gave that to me. It's in my brain.
This is something I've heard other artists say.
Yeah,
Like they use the name Hashem, they use the muse, they use the universe. Every
power.
artist says something is channeling through me. It's not really me. My job is just to be like open.
He gave me the talent. Like, it's in my brain. Like, if you give me a design, I'm going to say, oh my God. And you can give me like a visual and it can be like a millimeter off center. I'm going to be like, that's not centered, right? And you would be like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, it's perfectly even. But, you know, for me now, part of my job is to go around the world and paint at high-end hospitality venues and engage with their guests and like look at beautiful oceans and inspiration. I'm like, you know what? I'm really grateful that this is my job, because some people sit at a desk and look at a computer all day.
Yep.
I was going to say, I saw somewhere, honestly, when I was first researching you, before I started bothering you, You've done like murals in New York. Is that? Did I see that
I
somewhere?
have 4 vinyl wrap murals in the city, yeah. Wall Street on 84th and 2nd, on 21st between 6th and 7th, on 10th and 51st.
How big are these things?
Big, like 45
To me,
foot,
that is the coolest
foot
thing.
walls.
For me
You've
personally,
done
that's the coolest thing.
45-foot walls in 4 different places roughly in New York?
But they're vinyl wraps, so they weren't hand painted. I hand painted an 8,500 square foot pool deck in Roosevelt Island, which was written up by Arc Digest Spain. Time Out New York wrote about it as the second most talked about thing in New York City in the summer of 2019.
Do you ever have problems with your vocal cords?
No,
You don't?
because I talk so much.
You talk very fast and you don't breathe a lot, which is similar to what I do. And my doctor said I went to a vocal cord doctor because there was a point in life for like 8 months where I was losing my voice.
Wait, but what are you
every
talking
other
about?
week.
Your voice sounds very healthy. It's
Exactly.
fine.
No, everyone talks to me. Do you smoke? Well, I did for 12 years, and then I stopped a year ago. Or 10 months, whatever it's been now.
Good for you.
But thanks. But a lot of that, he's like, you need to breathe in between your words, and I don't because I don't shut the fuck up. So,
My brain thinks very fast, so I speak
shit.
very fast.
I see that. And
Do
we're
you love New York? Like, to me, like having your art immortalized in a city like New York City that's worth that's the coolest thing.
For me, that's cool. I also think it's cool. Like, I really believe that my art is going to be worth a lot of money. Like my original paintings, one day when I'm dead, generations next, my art will be worth a lot of money.
Why do I feel like I can't say anything that I think, but you could say all these things that you think about your personal talent?
You were saying all things that you think about your personal talent.
No, I
before we
was not.
started
I was
recording.
being. Hold on one very fucking second. I was being very, very nice and extremely. Hold on.
I like her. She's.
I was being.
You got good energy.
I'm the one who can say this and actually have full thing. I said nothing. All right.
Oh, man.
I said that we're gonna go to the top of this podcast. That's not saying
I'm
anything.
going to be honest. I am very confident in my talent. Like, I actually know. And if you Google my work, you can find maybe 10% of all the intellectual property that I've created in my life online. And 90% is trapped in my computer until I figure out a way to monetize it properly so that I don't get it stolen from me before I've made money off of it. But my best work is actually trapped in my computer. And it's, for me as an artist, the most frustrating thing ever. The world has not even yet experienced what's in my brain. I know I'm a better designer. I don't feel arrogant saying that. I don't feel arrogant saying that, by the way.
love it. I love it. I love it so much. Why? You're giving me a license to say everything about myself, so I love it so much. Why can't you release all that 90%?
It'll get stolen. And I won't, because if I release it without releasing it in a way that's making me money, right? I've now given my intellectual property for free. And
why can't you
people
release
can
it
take
in a way that makes you money?
I'm trying to figure out how. I've created a lot of intellectual property. A lot.
I was actually going to wonder, you have some very classic, that's an Elizabeth Sutton motif. I'm thinking specifically the butterflies. How many copycat artists have you seen now with
abstractions? I'm actually the first artist in history to start painting a digital artwork called WPAP. WPAP was a type of graphic design that originated in Indonesia. They would do only people's faces, certain color palettes. And when I was trying to explore how to, get away from my geometric abstractions and butterflies and apply the same technique that I had taught myself to a different, aesthetic, I discovered WPAP. And I'm the first artist, as far as I know, in the world who started painting this style. And then I started getting a bajillion copycats. And then I was like, why are they only applying this style of digital art to faces? Why are they not applying it to inanimate or animate objects? And then I started painting florals and foliage and boxing gloves, whatever it was, anything that I was photographing. And as far as I know, I'm one of the first digital artists who started vectorizing photographs other than just faces in this style. And I have tons of copycats. Copycat is the sincerest form of flattery. So whatever.
Yeah. Wow. Couple of quick questions. We've been going for a while here, and you probably have to get going also.
Do.
Yeah,
I have to
I know.
pee so bad.
Me too.
Zach is the piss like a racehorse, clearly. Couple of quick questions. First of all, do you ever get cabin fever in this place? Because you work here, you live here. How does that work?
I'm such a homebody. My boyfriend is kind of going crazy for me because he wants me to get out more. But I'm the most introverted extrovert you ever met. I love my work, so I'm happy in it, which is kind of antisocial because I can be in my laptop all night long. I've been living in New York my whole life, so like I've already experienced the like partying, going out. It's not what I go for now. I love staying home. It's my like safe space. I feel protected there. You know, I got to a place where I would go out in New York and think I had privacy with my best friend at dinner and talk about like my real life, my real stuff that I didn't necessarily put out into the public. And then someone would be like, the table next to me would be like, "Oh my God, I just want to say I love your work." And I'd be like, "Oh, this is really uncomfortable."
Yeah.
And so I like being home. And my boyfriend doesn't like it. And I understand why. But I have 4 floors here. I didn't even give you a tour. I'll give you a tour after this.
Love one.
It's a big place. I have a
I
backyard.
think I'm gonna take a video of everything, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, of course. I have a backyard.
I think maybe we'll even put it in.
I've been planning which things I'm going to steal.
I was gonna ask you also, would you be willing and kind enough to? I'm sure you have paintings here that you don't care for a ton. Would you be willing to kind enough to give us one? We'll hang it in our studio.
Likely
view.
not. But maybe we can talk about a print, and maybe we could talk about doing some type of contest. Print giveaway, clutch giveaway. We'll talk about it.
Okay, I'm okay with
Yeah.
that.
There's what to be spoken about.
Here's how it works: you ask for something big, you get something a little small. That's
By
how
the way,
negotiating
you're
works, so,
you're
done.
100% right.
Yeah, I know.
100% right.
Well, to always ask for something big, and then
I was taught to negotiate by a man. He said if someone tells you it's $100, you counter, you'll pay 30. Your goal is to end up at 70.
Yep, of course, always.
amazing.
All right. Favorite.
I was
Jewish-
just taught to be negotiated by a woman. I'm going to tell people I was taught to negotiate by a woman.
Yes, please.
Clearly, by the way, there's a man who does like you and has no problem mentoring you. That must have been a good man. One of the
Actually,
few.
my best mentor is a female mentor, Barry.
But what about that guy? That guy helped you. Why are you not giving him credit?
But
The fuck?
like I like to say,
That guy's a nice guy.
I'm a man trapped in the body of a hot girl.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Something like that.
Absolutely. You got.
And I'm a hot girl trapped in a okay looking man. But internally, hot girl all day long, baby.
That is awesome. That is nice. Okay, favorite designer / artist in the Jewish world and outside the Jewish world.
Ooh, tough question. Favorite designer currently outside the Jewish world for clothing is Zimmerman. For design, it will forever be Kelly Wersler. I love her. I'm newly turned on to Ken Funt because he just used my tile at Contessa in Miami. This guy named Reginald Dunlap, so freaking talented. Also interior design. Favorite Jewish designer. Whew. Is Michelle Gerson Jewish? I think she is. Stacey Ayash, she's super talented. My friend Elsa Sawyer's Jewish, not religious, but very talented. I really love my friend Lauren Turk. She sells lots of designer clothing, consignment shop. Go check her out, support her. She's not a designer, but she carries lots of designers. Who else in the Jewish community designs? Oh, Gracie Akkad, super talented. Syrian girl, Gracie Akkad, makes wedding dresses. Check her out.
I was gonna ask you, do you ever do traditional interior design of like homes?
I did this home. So it's funny. I design the things that interior designers use to design homes. Ultimately, I hope to. I just put in a proposal to a huge hotel to renovate 350 rooms. Pray for me. I already closed the deal.
You're gonna get it. It's done.
That's how I already closed the deal. That's what I'm telling
And by the
myself
way,
in my
if
head.
for whatever reason in the hell it doesn't close, the next one's gonna freaking close. Let's be real. You're getting that. That's done.
My dream is to
You're there
actually
already.
design a boutique hotel. It's my dream.
To do what?
Design a boutique hotel.
But I feel like you already did that. I was doing something and it said
No,
something- I
like
don't know.
the whole thing.
The whole
like the
thing.
wallpapers,
Like it's your project.
the furniture, the
Your
lighting,
baby.
everything.
The Elizabeth
Yep.
Sutton Hotel.
And it's definitely going to be in some island somewhere.
You
St.
know, I
Barths.
actually think it should be in a city. My vision is in a city, and each room is designed like a different destination.
Oh, I like that.
Very, very
my
cool. I
vision.
love that. Okay, so you're not doing interior design for homes specifically because I want to give you a huge plug for that.
I can, and I do it for my friends and myself, and I would love to. So yes,
open
I
to
can do
that?
it with my and
What
I
do you
can do it with
charge
my eyes closed.
for a 4,000 square foot home? What do you charge? New home.
Most interior designers charge 25 to 30% of the spend. The beauty of working with me is if you're sourcing my products, okay, I'm going to charge you less because I'm making money on that too.
All right, guys, let's be real. If you're in the firm community, there's a lot of guilt in the 5 towns. Let's call it what it is. Everyone's building new houses. They're just going up quickly, double lots, the whole 9 yards. This woman's a badass. She's going to kill it. Show her also that you don't have a problem working with a woman because I know you don't. So show her that. Not only that, by the way, everyone I know, my brother built multiple houses. He's used women. I don't know, but either way.
I'm also single. It's different. Like, they take me as threatening.
It's not the point. Who cares? No, he's the single girl also. It's not the point. The point is, I'm going to show you a video of this entire house before we're done. The house is going to speak for itself. I don't have to say anything.
Crazy house.
It's insane. I mean, no, the design specifically.
But like, my house is very colorful. Don't think that I don't know how to do grayscale or like just white or neutral.
Right.
I'm literally developing artwork right now for like an all white house.
You will tell her what you like, and she will show you what you wanted but didn't know you wanted.
Facts. And
There we
it's
go.
going to give you like energy. I'm going to get out of you like what inspires you and motivates you, and then put it into the design
I
elements.
love this. By the way, we just got you so much business, and I know we did. I don't even have a question. I want to know how many. By the way, please refer that you are reaching out to her because of this podcast. I want to know how many people reach out to you after this podcast. Deal?
I'll cut you in.
Okay. You don't have to cut me in. No, take
I'll give you that artwork behind the desk that you want.
100%. I was going to ask you something else.
See, here's the thing. When people don't like hakarat hatov, like, yes, that's part of business. Cutting someone in when they're a good referral source.
100%.
Hello.
100%. But here's the thing, okay? I read a quote from you, and I want to end with this. So I read a quote, and I love this quote, okay? Because it goes like this. Call me crazy because I am, but it is my mission to teach young leaders to pursue their dreams and to be fearless in their minds. And I fucking love that.
I think that most people limit themselves. You know, you're limited based on what you tell yourself and based on the people who you surround yourself with and what they tell you. And if you have people who you surround yourself with who are constantly telling you can't do things or you shouldn't do this, right? Like, you're going to believe that you can't do it. If you don't believe you can do it, no one else is going to believe you can do it. So you need to really have big fat dreams if that's what you want, or not, right? It's up to you. But just take away any pre-existing societal norms that you were taught growing up, and just like be who you are, as long as you're not harming others.
You know, I can tell you,
Freaking men.
and I can tell you, I've heard so many times in my life, this can't be done, that can't be done. And even with Zach, I think he could attest already. So many people are telling us, this can't be done, that can't be done. Us doing the same podcast together can't be done, whatever. All these different things, you know. And I told Zach all along, like, we're going to the top. It's not a question. It's how are we going to make the connections? And that's a refrigerator quote. That's an all-time quote for me. Can you please make a painting with that quote? It's right here. Not only that.
Send it to me, by the way.
Not only that, it's on. Do you see how I have Dash Elizabeth's son?
Where'd you find that?
Is that not worth a painting?
Where'd you find that? Was it an interview?
It's on an interview, yes.
Okay.
Because I did my research at 3:42 in the morning or something last night, or 3:45 to be serious. I was up at 3 o'clock in the morning or something, and I was doing some research on this. And I read one article, and it had this writing, and I'm like, this is going to be an awesome interview.
So outside on the bar, so my quotes, I love painting quotes, but long quotes take a lot of time to paint. Like, I painted this quote that be true to who you are, blah, 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 like a commentary after the car accident. And it was a small painting, but it took me so much time that I had to charge a ton of money for it to be worthwhile.
Yeah.
So I've had my favorite quote, which is a John Lennon quote. When I was 5 years old,
Yeah.
I went to it's
the
outside.
famous
You
law.
need to see
I
it.
don't know
the
And
John Lennon
I'll
quote.
tell you what it is right
Send
now.
it to me.
I know
It's
exactly
like
which
when I
one
was
you're talking
5 years old,
Sean,
like
yeah,
they gave us
Lennon.
an assignment in school, and they told us
yeah.
to write down what we wanted to be when we grew up. I wrote down happiness. They told me I didn't
Yes,
understand
yes,
the
yes, yes.
assignment. I told them they didn't understand life.
Right,
So
correct.
for so long, I wanted to paint it, but it's way too long. So I designed a custom bar on glass with Galaxy glass and stone, which is sick next level, that I installed on my bar outside that I really love.
It goes like this before we wrap. It goes, when I was 5 years old, my mother told me that happiness was the key to life. When I went to school, they asked me what I wanted to be when I grow up. I wrote down, I want to be happy. They told me They told me I didn't understand the assignment, and I told them they didn't understand life. Sorry, I may have butchered that as I was saying over the quote, but whatever.
Yeah,
It's good. It's a good quote.
And then he went ahead and dated Yoko Ono, so I don't know how much I can believe.
It was his soulmate, by the way. There's like these articles I'm reading, like it was his soulmate. It's just got him through everything.
Yeah.
Unreal. Okay. I really want to give a huge thank you. First of all, for someone as busy as you are with 1,000 things, like the 18
I'm looking
people,
at my
We
watch.
really
I'm
appreciate
bugging
it.
out.
you've given us what, at least 2 hours of your time today, which is unbelievable.
Freaking out, it's fine.
And you asked me she asked me when we started, by the way. She's like, "Oh, how much time is it?" I said, "Listen, it's 45 minutes, but it's up to you." And you've been gracious and kind and
I feel
really-
like I learned a lot.
yeah.
Yeah.
Really. You're inspired.
Cool. Close. DocSend.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
close
we'll
docs
never
and-
forget close.
Yeah.
You kidding me?
And DocSend.
And NFTs,
Okay.
by the way. If you want to run down NFTs, it's here for you. And never give up on your dreams and be a badass. And yeah,
And it's
everything.
all hakol tamid lemala.
And if you're a woman, don't take no shit from men. Go stand up. Go. Don't give up. That's it.
Correct.
Yeah.
Done. All right.
All right.
Peace and love, you guys. Thank you all for watching.
Thank you for having me.